Hello, YouTube. I've seen some pretty crazy ass videos from the vegans. And there's just some details they don't get. One of the details, number one, you cannot, you keep saying you want to save the animals. And you're going to save the animals, and you're going to convince everybody to stop eating them, and then we're going to save all these animals. Right. Now, you take the cow, the pig, you take the chicken, take turkeys, geese, all these different animals that we eat. Sheep, lambs, goats. Every animal you're looking at that we eat, when you go to the grocery store and you see all that meat cut up by the butcher, all those animals are domesticated animals. Not like your dog domesticated, but it is a farm domesticated animal. As in, you cannot set it free. Its freedom is in the barn. Looking for ways to put this to you so you understand. If you were to take a cow out of a pasture and you were to put it into the bush, set it free, you're free, go free, it would be dead by nightfall. It is the easiest thing for any predator to go kill a cow. And in fact, there is a lot of trouble trying to keep the cows safe from predators, because they are easy picking. That's why you have them in an open pasture, because you can see when a predator is coming up on them. So you cannot, by not eating the animals, and by convincing everybody to stop eating the animals, you will not save their lives. You will in fact destiny would be extinction. Okay, number two, you cannot save the farmland. How do I say? You cannot take these animals. They eat mostly pasture land. They eat grass. A cow gives birth in the spring. Gives birth to a calf, and that's how you get the milk from the cow. So you get all these calves, and at a certain age, they're weaned off the milk. They're put onto grassland. That's called a feeder. Feeders feed on grassland because it's nice, marginal, cheap land. And the little calves will grow, be full size in about a year, and then you go take and make food out of them. Unless the calf is a female, then you can make it into a milking cow. She'll have like a good 5 years, 8 years of life, which is much longer than if you were to try and set her free. Then it's about a day. Okay, so now you have these feeder calves that eat the grass. Now, there are people who have tried to say you can just take that grassland and you can make it into, I don't know, some sort of productive human food food, and the soil on the grassland is what's called marginal land. Absolutely in no conceivable way can you take and grow anything for human consumption. Now, I can grow feeder oats and feeder barley and feeder wheat on marginal land, and I would definitely, if I wasn't going to make it into grassland, my definite choice would be alfalfa and try to bale it. But we're not going to go making anything like a vegetable garden on the marginal land. It's marginal because it is got issues where plants have trouble growing. That's why you don't use, that's the second reason that you can't just stop the feeding. The second issue I have is you can't stop feeding, or you can't start feeding people with the grasslands that these cattle grow on. Now, a third issue that comes up. You cannot take the feed, or you cannot take the, you cannot take animals that are raised on grassland and then say they've been mistreated, or say they are forced to grow quick. I guess my point with number 3 is these animals, some are mistreated. But you know what? When you find a farmyard where you find people mistreating their animals, you also find a guy going bankrupt. He's not doing it very long. He may be out of it that season. Regular animals fed on an open grassland are pretty comfortable animals. This is what they've been bred for. They enjoy themselves outside. They are handling all the issues because we breed that into them. We want them to be doing well and successful. And in fact, an animal that is being in some sort of pain, let's say you've got a milking cow and she's in pain, well, what happens to a milking cow in pain? They don't produce milk. And what happens when other cows hear the milking cow in pain? The other cows stop producing milk. It's a real problem. You need to keep everything calm. You need to keep everything sort of reasonably happy. And these cows need to be, they are treated like royalty. There's no other way to put it, on a dairy farm. So in general, I would say as far as cattle go, you're looking at well-treated animals. Now, the exception is in a feeder lot, where they're put in a little fenced, caged-in area and fed corn or some silly little thing. Yeah, those animals are force-fed. They're forced to grow fast. They are living in more miserable conditions, and they're not the high profits of something like feeder animals. Because feeders, you just throw on the grassland, forget about them, collect them in the fall, and now you've made some money. But if you got to keep, and you would occasionally check on these grass-fed animals, but they're nowhere near the work that a feedlot would be. Feedlot is high maintenance, high cost, high risk. You got lots of disease and stuff in there. Doesn't happen with grass-fed animals. Not as much. Okay, now, there are animals that even because I've been in the industry, there are animals that I question. The big ones are chickens, especially if they've been in cages and spent their life in cages. Those animals are, well, the animal at the bottom of the cage, they'll be stacked in these cages 5, 6, 8 high. I've seen, I believe it was 8 high, and the animals in the bottom cage do suffer. And the problem with chickens is they're easy to make, to get more chickens. You can get a whole box of little baby chickens and be 100 in a box, and you can just fill your cages again. The problem is the bottom cage, when the chicken goes to the bathroom, poo and pee, the bottom cage always, I've never seen it clean. I've always seen the one way or another, the poo and the pee ends up on the bottom birds. And you see damage, you see disease, you see all kinds of stuff on the bottom birds. I've seen pig operations, and there again I have less than happy. Those are not great conditions, not as nice as cattle. The pigs are in barns that they sort of are in a lot of mud, and they do okay because they're not going to be there that long. And then I've seen the other one is well, let's see, I had sheep myself, and those are grass animals, and they are quite happy to go running around and doing whatever they do. Nobody really keeps sheep too fenced in. You don't do them as feeder animals because it's expensive. And it's I've found sheep are quite a social animal, and I can't imagine, and they give up very, I don't know how to say, their will to live is very, very low. They give up on life very quickly. I've seen a big, huge ram of mine get a little sick and just, well, I'm going to lie on the ground and die. And that's what he did. And I had to go get the vet, had to do all kinds of stuff with this guy, so he didn't die. And he was really ready to give up on life, and he was just mildly sick. And very frustrating animals for that reason. Beyond that, they are the perfect mothers. The ewes take really good care of their lambs, and if they see another ewe that's not quite doing it, not making it, they will take their lambs in as well and help it out and make sure that all the lambs get fed. And I never had a problem with sheep raising their lambs. We used to have chickens, and they were free to run the whole gamut of the yard, run wherever you want, make a mess wherever you want. And there again, they were excellent at living, surviving, good health. And you would find that they were sort of half-hearted mothers. They wouldn't really, sometimes they'd raise their eggs into chicks, but not that often. And when they did, a good portion of the chicks died. Mind you, having said that, they could give birth to 10, they could have 10 eggs. I'm trying to be birthing, well, not birthing, they birth one at a time, but they try to hatch 10 eggs and then try and keep them from getting killed by the other chickens. All in all, what I'm saying is the life that these animals live is pretty good. Their life expectancy is greatly increased on the farm because it's profitable, right? So you're not going to see you're not going to see people abusing their animals. That is costly. You might see workers abusing the animals, but when they're caught, they're fired. That'd be the third point. The fourth point is obvious. We're meant to eat meat. We've been eating it for many years, and humankind is meant to eat meat. It's high in protein, it's good for you, and you're sort of being unreasonable. Thank you. That's my YouTube video.